Welcome to the Orion Sportscast Podcast, the most refreshing analysis, insight, and opinions in the world of sports. Here are your hosts, Josh Egan and Brandon Waterhouse.
And we're back. We had a quick break. We want to thank Matt for that previous joining us. I think he really brought the heat.
That was great.
Yeah, brought the best energy out of me. Brandon, you got to learn how to piss me off a little bit more. We're joined by, we know. We're joined by a new guest. We're going to talk some NBA. Dalton, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are. All that stuff.
All right. Dalton Squires. I'm from Cayuga, Ontario.
Hey, represent the hometown. That's the first person that's shouted out their hometown.
Hell yeah.
Gotta represent though.
I'm in sport management with these guys and ready to talk some NBA.
Hey, I could see the flow coming. Josh, you got something?
Yeah, so we're going to talk some NBA. I think the biggest story right now in the National Basketball Association, almost said league, it's not the NBL, is the whole situation with James Harden, the Houston Rockets, the Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie Irving, Houston strip clubs, and COVID. So, Brendan, you seem to have a better rap on this than I do because I think the whole situation's hilarious. So why don't you start from the beginning and kind of tell us the whole breakdown of it?
Yeah, sure. I'll start with it and I'll have Dalton's chime in wherever he feels like it. So first of all, let's get to the logistics just to clear the air. So this is the factual on paper deal. So the Houston Rockets received Victor Oladipo, Rodions Kurucs, Dante Exum, 4 unprotected first-round draft picks from Brooklyn in 2002, 2004, 2006, and 1 from Milwaukee in 2022, and 4 unprotected first-round pick swaps in the years 21, 23, 25, and 27. In return, the Nets get James Harden. The Pacers are involved as they get Karis LeVert in a 2023 second-round pick from Houston. And then 2 big pieces of the depth from the Nets go to the Cavaliers somehow with Jared Allen and Taurean Prince. 2 guys underrated that were on the bench for the Nets, to say the least. But to go back, as you were asking me, for the story part of this, it's great because I like how your friend Matt ended it hit off, right? So the situation started way before this trade in this week, and Dalton knows the same. We talk about literally, basketball every day.
All the time.
So the Harden situation started when he was missing camp and didn't show up right away. And he just wanted to party. He was seen with little baby all the time. So we were worrying about the fact that if he was going to carry about protocols or if he was even coming to the ring.
He was in quarantine for wasn't he in quarantine for 14 days?
I think he must have had to do a protocol quarantine, but he had to quarantine for they do 7 days. They do a short one. The NBA does a short one.
Yeah, because they have all that.
So he had to quarantine before he joined the team at the 3rd or 4th game. But even then, and I think that's really important to notice is I don't know if you guys saw the DeMarcus Cousins interview where he mentioned that he just came to Houston to play with his buddy John Wall.
Yeah, I didn't even mention James Harden.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned earlier in the episodes here, Josh, that I did that Boogie and John Wall played University of Kentucky ball way back in the day for NCAA. Yep. So that's where and he literally was quoted. He's like, well, to be honest, I came here to play with John Wall, truthfully.
Yeah.
So in that situation, you could already tell that the dialect or whatever, there was discord between Harden and not only the players, the management, the city, all that good stuff, the fans. So, like Matt said, I would say that Harden finessed his way through what he got. He got to fuck around for the first part of the season. He got to go play in a couple of all-stars situation. And Dalton, I was going to say Devin Booker. What do you have to think? No, Dalton Squires. What do you have to think on Charles Barkley's comments on James Harden or Kevin Durant? Actually, it's Kevin Durant. Does Kevin Durant need superstars to win? Does he need the Splash Brothers and the Dribble Brothers? What is this shit?
Honestly, I'd say he does. He hasn't won without them, right?
Right.
He went to the finals with Harden and Russ before, but he didn't win. I don't know. What do you think of the trade? Do you think the Brooklyn Nets won the trade? I think,
Josh, what do you have to say?
They need to win now.
I think anytime you give up your future in exchange for short-term success, it's going to be it's very risky, and I don't think we will know who wins this trade for a couple of years, because Harden's there for at least 2. He's got that 3rd-year player option he can pick up, and he probably will pick it up because he's on the north side of 30. It's $40 million. He's probably thinking, oh, fuckers, like, you're stuck with me for 3 years, paying me grand total of 120 mil. I find it tough that the Nets are going to win this. I think the only way they win this trade is if they can bring home the championship. But four unprotected first-round picks, we saw this with the Clippers giving up 4 first-round picks. It sometimes doesn't end well. Like, a second-round exit's not going to cut it. The conference final showing where you lose out isn't going to cut it. It's you're swinging from the fences on that one.
And not only that, though, they need Kyrie to play. Like, man, he causes problems everywhere he goes. Like, what was it? When he was leaving the Cavs, he was like causing problems. And then on the Celtics, he was like, man, he was just locker room toxic, right?
I hear you. That's a great. I have to mention that because even now, there's I don't know why I follow his opinion, but you and Daryl, we mentioned it together. But I religiously screenshot Kendrick Perkins on Twitter, and he's notorious for coming up with a lot of bold but not very factual one-liners this year.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to say something about how Kyrie has to be okay with being the Robin in this Batman and or no, he has to be Alfred in the Batman and Robin situation. And I want to get your thoughts on that because that's Kyrie Irving. He has a ring, and I think that he has a little bit more say than Harden.
I don't. It's so hard to say because they're all top level talent. KD's an MVP. James Harden was an MVP. Kyrie could be an MVP. I think it's whether they can play together good or not. Like,
and Kyrie has to simply come back to the fucking team and let people know where he is.
Yeah, like Kyrie's made some of the biggest shots in the NBA history.
Yes, he has. He won the game with his own dribble over Steph way back in 2016. Sorry, Josh.
Wasn't he suspended and fined today? Or
he was fined $50K. I don't know if he was suspended.
I know. I saw he lost $800K in salary as well.
It's going downhill, and I know Dalton's really happy for it because Dalton was getting just put to sleep by a little group chat he had that had him giving away Kyrie Irving in a trade deal because he was foreshadowing. He's trying to see. I know Dalton got butchered for it by the friends in the group, but he was trying to get out of Kyrie off of his team as he was not playing. What is it like? What are your feelings? What do you want? Do you want to see Kyrie back, or do you want to see him, hold out even longer, Dalton? Because you had
Honestly,
him, you had a personal investment with the guy on your fantasy team.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? I just traded him, so I did get rid of him. Well, I would like to see him play. Like he's actually, you know what? He's great to watch. Like he's just so much fun to watch because his handles are unreal, man. It's crazy.
I think it's stupid. All these basketball players think it's all about themselves. I hate it.
I
think it's why I'm not invested in the NBA as much as I am in any other sport. Like you see it somewhat in the NFL sometimes, but at the end of the day,
basketball is so ego-driven. It's every single player.
If these guys were golf players, it would be 10 times more entertaining because golf's an individual sport. But you just don't see it in any other team sport. And Adam Silver, he has no control of the league and what the players do. He's like, oh, no tampering. Well, bullshit, there's tampering going on all the fucking time.
So many of those. I'm sure there's so many group chats that are not team correlated.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just the guys who train in the summer. I'll send you the videos when it happens. But these guys, these superstars, they train in groups, in cliques almost, if you rather, during the summer and the off season. Like these guys have, even though they're not on the same team, as soon as the season's over, they're going to Cabo, they're going to Mexico, or they're going to California to train at UCLA runs. Like I see this shit all the time. In terms of the tampering policy, I want to mention the fact that I think it has to be a little bit more strict in terms of tampering with individual technology, like the players' phones. Like I think the phones and group chats have become an undermine situation. But before agents talk to each other, the players are talking to each other. And before the agents are talking to the management, the players have already decided that, I'm gonna give up right now. I'm gonna give up. Like Paul George is, I'm gonna give up on the Thunder, and Westbrook's like, I'm gonna give up on the Rockets. Before it even made sense to anyone logistically, before there was a realistic trade, before there was realistic cap involved, and before there was realistic picks involved for these trades. So I think the players, they have these things, they have to manifest these things, right? You don't just hope to get traded out of a bad situation. Like, Josh, could you imagine just McDavid? I'm just asking because of the first 2 years, 3 years of success. Like, they've been ass, and he just wants out. It doesn't happen in the NHL. There's a certain hold. There's a restriction there.
I also think it's not just the culture in hockey is different too, right? Like it's and also you don't
I
have
want to hear your opinion. Yeah, that's why I make it.
You don't have to battle with a salary cap as much in the NBA because you have a lot more money to work with, and a bench player in the NBA is making what McDavid is making. You got bench players
seriously
10, 12 million. McDavid's I think he's the highest paid player in the NHL at 12.6 or whatever. So it's a tough situation, and it's not a good look for the NBA because it's kind of been out of control with these super teams being built, and I don't think it's good for the league because you're leaving teams out of it and fan bases are being left out because
it's not inclusive.
Teams don't have a chance, and I think that's where and you see it in football too. You don't have super teams, you have good teams, and I think maybe if the NFL had a longer schedule, it would be a bigger issue. But I don't know. I don't like these building of a super teams and the players tampering. And like you mentioned earlier, the tampering policy needs to be stricter. Tampering is cheating. What happens if you cheat on a test? If you and I are writing a test and I peek over at yours and say, hey, what'd you get for this one? Or, hey, want to write mine for me? The test is gone. You're done. Like maybe you don't suspend the player for the whole season, but like there's harsh repercussions for your actions when you're trying to change something and not within the rules. That's not sports, right? Like if you foul somebody in an NBA game, there's a repercussion for it. So why is that different off the court? I don't know. I get frustrated with these NBA players, man, sometimes.
We all do.
Dalton?
No, you know what though? In hockey, you don't really see. You know what? With the NBA too, NBA is like it's so much bigger. Like it's one of like the biggest national sports. So it's
the highest paid.
Yeah,
revenue,
so
all that stuff.
It's gonna get more media coverage, right?
Mm-hmm.
If hockey was more, I feel like if hockey was bigger too, then it would get more media, and maybe you'd see more ego. But I mean, who's like the biggest ego in hockey? Like
PK Subban.
Yeah,
the highest. Who is the highest paid ego statistic player in hockey? Yeah,
probably Subban, right?
PK Subban or Alex Ovechkin. Maybe not Ovechkin so much anymore, but
yeah.
I just think because of the way Ovechkin,
Ryan Reeves too.
No, not because of what he's worth. No.
I just think ego-wise.
I think ego-wise in the NBA and NHL differs because these players take it to Twitter and social media, and literally, there's players tweeting. LeBron James almost retweets and quotes tweets every day. When's the last time you saw Crosby? He doesn't even have social media.
Yeah.
Ovechkin would never use a platform like that to get his way with something. He can barely speak a lick of English. I don't know if he could type a word on Twitter. So
that's a little harsh.
Okay, but you know what I mean? When he was young, I'm sure he's not going to take his frustrations to Twitter with Bruce Boudreau way back in the day with the Washington Capitals. You know what I mean?
No, he just did that in the media scrums.
Yeah. But like you see guys on the NBA take to Twitter, take to TikTok, take to Instagram just to send out a little message. And even in the NFL, Chase Claypool, like they're just a little saltier. Like the NHL has this, I don't know if it's rooted, but it's a different sense of how they go about asking for trades and their ego. And I think that I want to ask Josh maybe 3 more players with money other than Subban that get paid who are a little bit egotistical in the way they go about the NHL. Because I want to bring the fact that the NBA is very star driven and the stars have the choice. And then I'm going to ask Dalton I'm going to ask Dalton a question because I see the poster behind him. So Josh, you go first about the NHL.
Messi?
Oh, geez, man. I mean, Marner used the media to get his money, and then he's kind of shut up.
I needed you to say it.
But since then, he's shut up, and he's kind of been quiet.
Isn't that all Leaf players, though?
Yeah.
Nylander did it too, didn't he?
It's what it seems, but Marner did the whole... I think Nylander could fall under there.
No. No. The Nylander negotiation was different because they were quiet the whole time. The Marner one, he didn't hold out, but he was speaking. Well, he missed one training camp day, whatever. He missed the weigh-in. Yeah. But like he used the media to get messages out, and his agent was doing his dirty work for him, and it was kind of gross. Like he was saying, "Oh, hopping on a plane to Columbus." Like you're not going to fucking Columbus after playing in Toronto. But like I'm trying to think of other players. Like I think of PK Subban. Drew Doughty uses the media a lot, and he's always lashing back. Like TSN didn't have him in. TSN didn't have him in the top 50 players this year, and I don't think he's been a top 50 player since 2003, or whatever. How old? He's an old player, right? Like he's not a top 50 NHL player. So I'll go like right now. Recent memory, probably got Marner, Subban, Doughty.
Yakupov.
Dude, Yakupov's been irrelevant since like.
Yeah. Josh, I know you have lots to say about soccer too, but international world soccer, anything about it. Dalton's a big soccer guy. He sends me a lot of foot dribbling.
You know what? I haven't watched soccer in so long.
But it's just the question of the egos today. Today's a big ego episode. Josh and Dalton, I know you guys know a little bit way more than me about soccer. What are 3 players, because I know that it happens, who use the platforms across the seas? I imagine it's where it happens the most, to get their way in soccer contracts and new teams and new additions. Because I know there's guys like Neymar, who's been thrown around, and he's out there a lot. Does he use things like who are the players? Tell me who
biggest
the egotistical soccer players are right now.
Definitely Ronaldo.
Luis Suarez.
Ronaldo. I'd say Ronaldo just because like his brand is so big, and like I don't like. Look at him. You just everything. You know, he's always on social media. It always looks like he gets hurt at other
How many
players.
teams has that guy been on? Do we know?
Teams? He's
not as many as you're thinking. I think it's like 3.
Yeah.
Juventus.
3 or 4. No, he's
a player that's just getting tossed around, but it is a higher name than what they deserve to be tossed around.
Well, I think he wanted to leave Madrid. Like he was there. He like won everything pretty much, and then he's like, I want out. And then I don't know. Like that's the thing when players get so big too. Like they just, they can just say if they want to leave or not.
Soccer's a little different, Brandon, because the way you buy a player out, you have to. It's really expensive. Like I think.
I want you to school me in soccer.
It's not a trade; it's a transfer. So the other team has to kind of buy that player in simple terms. And soccer players, you got to remember, there's not one main soccer league, right? Like over here we have the MLS and the Canadian Premier League, and then over in Europe you got the EPL, which may be the top one, La Liga. You got German leagues. And these players, they want to win everything. And then, so I guess the top thing you can win in club soccer would be the Champions League, because that combines the top 5 teams from each league in Europe. But I don't know. It's different for soccer players because you could win an EPL title, and then you might want to go win one in La Liga. And then you might want to go say, okay, and Messi has said this recently, I want to go play in North America. And because that's something he wants to do. He's won everything he can over there. And he can still play for his national team, even in international games, even if he comes over here and plays for TFC or whatever. So, and that'd be a great signing. That'd be huge for TFC. But I don't know. It's a little different in soccer. I don't think it's so much their egos. Their egos show more on the pitch, and soccer's a little different.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, my inner British is coming out here, but it's different with soccer too, because media availability is different. You don't get access to the players after the game. It's only the managers that do it. So they don't have the outlet to express their frustrations right after a game. So they might, tweet it out or do a video or something, but I don't know. It's different in soccer. I don't think it quite relates to the NBA and the NHL as much as we think it does, but there definitely is a correlation there. And the way the sport is perceived. Let's talk about the Raptors. I want to hear your thoughts on the NBA here.
Hey, I got this. I got you. We're right into where I was leading into. But the great thing about this, okay, it's not the great thing about this. I'll be brutally honest.
Don't even get me started.
An additional point to where we're talking about the Raptors is in relation to where they are in mock draft standings. Okay, so let me read out. I don't want to name it right now, but let me read out a suggested
top picks,
top 5 predicted NBA 2021 draft, and this is also the team lists. So in the team order of getting 1 through 5, I just want to hear your opinions. This is just it's a pretty reasonable, respected list. Let me just hear what you guys have to say. Now I know Dalton knows a little bit more about the individual prospects, but I want to hear Josh's opinions on where the teams fall. And there are some prospects that I've showed Josh. Anyway, rambling. Detroit is finishing last. They have Washington somehow still finishing second last. And now Toronto finishes third last in these guys' standings, right in front of Houston at 4th pick, and Chicago gets the 5th pick. So
That's where
alongside,
What?
sorry?
they got Houston that low.
Right.
Really?
Yeah. Hey, I got you. So
I still think they're
listen,
competing.
the players involved. So the players in this one is it's not what I had it at, but it looks very situational now. So this is where Dalton's favorite guy. So actually he's not his favorite guy, but we have Jaylen Suggs, who says that this guy says Jaylen Suggs is at first, followed by Jonathan Kuminga. Evan Mobley will go to the Raptors for some reason. Cade Cunningham will go to the Rockets for some reason. And the G League superstar, Jalen Green, will end up 5th. I don't agree with this list at all. But what do you feel about the Raptors tanking for a pick? Do you think that that's even a way of that basketball in Canada?
As long as Lowry's with the Raptors, they will never tank. He won't allow it. That's what I gotta say on that. And I honestly, the Raptors won last night, I believe. They beat who'd they fucking play?
By a singular bucket. Very upsetting. Yes, they beat the Charlotte Hornets and LaMelo Ball.
But then they only lost their last 2 by a single bucket as well. Yeah, so like I said, it's a bucket is making or breaking their season right now. If you make those last 2 buckets against Golden State and Portland, you're looking at a 3-game win stretch, right? So I think having them 3rd lowest is a little aggressive right now. I always say, like, what have I been saying, Brendan? You usually wait till Thanksgiving to see where your team's at. That's usually like a 4 or 5 week stretch. Let's see where the Raptors
that's like a month or so in.
Yeah, let's see where the Raptors are like in 3 weeks or so.
Dalton, do you think that it's one of those, like, as a Raptors fan, like, it's not that we want to see tanking, but if it's a short season, the turnaround could be worth it if we saw Cade Cunningham in a nice Raptors jersey next year.
You'd like that, eh?
What do you have to say on it?
Well, okay. Do you think the Raptors are playing worse because they're in Tampa? They're not playing at their home. Like, do you think that has a factor?
Right. So
I feel like it might a little bit, to be honest.
I think it does have a huge factor, and I also want to say that, as Josh looks at his phone, that
I was seeing what you sent me.
Yeah, no, it's not Toronto. It's not Toronto. It's not the Maple Leafs in their home rink. They get to play in Canada. They get that feeling of laying their head on their bed, probably with some of their close family members if they have a house. But Tampa Bay, I don't know if they got to bring their families. I don't know where they're staying. The injected crowd noise is half-assed at best. And we've already heard the least capacity of, like, if they're letting in 20 fans, 19 of those fans are for the away team.
Yeah, exactly.
So is it worth it? 56 games. Do you tank for a top 5 pick, or do you bust in 8th position for no reason, just to show that you have an integrity? And you're not getting Harden anymore. You're not getting Giannis. What do we do?
I say just ride it out.
Yeah, I think you got
Nick Nurse. It's not a. I don't think it's a Toronto standard of ours to tank.
Yeah.
No, not.
I think they definitely have the potential to go somewhere. Like, if they can. You're right. It's really early in the season.
I think what people are forgetting, there's still the play-in series, so you can finish 10th and still have a shot at the playoffs, right?
That's super important, and I wonder if that's a conversation that they're having in the Raptors locker room. Like, boys, we can still have a 10th place type of season, but let's find chemistry here.
Yeah, it'd be a shame for them to write off the season after having such a good one last year and winning the championship the year before. Like, that's a pretty big drop-off. Yeah, I do think not playing at home does affect them, but they've come close a couple times to wins. And I don't think they need to panic just yet. Like, you're not hitting the emergency reset button. You're just kind of like if they're having 6 tall boys instead of chugging a full bottle of whiskey, right? Like, that's their level of panic. So that's the best way I can put that. But I guess we'll see. Only time will tell.
Dalton, where do you have the ranking, regardless of team? I want to hear your ranking on these top 3 prospects. Tell me who goes first, second, and third. Cade Cunningham.
You know what? First, I'd say the highest ceiling, definitely Jalen Green. I was just watching highlights before this, and dude, his potential, he's dunking everything, man. Just flies through the roof. He's got a good shot. And then you got Cade, your guy. He's actually he's got a perfect NBA body.
He's ready to go.
No, he's already NBA ready. He's got passing. His passing, his vision is really good.
Yes.
And then Jaylen Suggs.
So Jalen Suggs is kind of one of those guys where he's coming off that traditional, just like Cade, but he's kind of seemed as above Jalen Suggs in terms of readiness. NBA,
Yeah.
Jalen Suggs has this great potential, but I want to say in terms of readiness, coming out of the G League is something that will be a huge additional factor to Green. Because,
well, I think their season starts on the 18th, so when that starts, definitely have to take a look at that and see where he's at.
I think that competition and the NBA world, the prospect world is going to be watching this. This is the first highest prospect to go to the G League instead of a college route and to get paid for his planes in terms of going to the NCAA.
Is that the first time they're able to do that? I thought you had to come out of college.
I think it's been done before.
LaMelo went to Australia, so I don't know if that was established now. I know what you mean, Josh.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's just a loophole or a way of I think you just don't want to be a student. And I guess that's cool. Like you don't have to be. And I guess he was that good to get a connection, to get a tryout, to get a spot on a G League team.
Yeah.
I mean, some players are just groomed. Like some players are groomed to the NCAA and the AAU system in America, and they go through high schools and they go where they want to go, and they want to do a big meeting where they announce their university school. Some kids, that's their dream. And I want to say that coming out of the G League, this might start something. You know, we might see something coming down the road for a bunch of new prospects who choose that to get not only get paid out of high school, but to be like twice. I think if you get a 20th overall type of guy projected a year ahead and he goes to the G League, I think that he's those type of sleepers, those guys that have those experiences. And they're playing against the dogs. They're playing against grown men who are dying to get into the NBA. Let's think about it that way. Maybe not grown men, but it's better than the NCAA where half the kids might go do a desk job in 2 years after this. So if you're playing in the G League, these guys are battling they want to play ball as their only source of income. NCAA is students who go to the Tuscaloosa after the Alabama team wins a football game because they want to party with 500 people in the middle of a boulevard with coronavirus. Like that's why you go to college, to have fun and mess around. So I'm not seeing. This is.
The only problem.
I want Cade to do well because that's where I stood on him. But sorry, you go. But I am very slept on Jalen Green.
Yeah. The only problem I see with the G League route is that there's not as much coverage as the NCAA. Like you go to the NCAA, there's March Madness. They get all that media coverage, all the attention's on the college players, right? And that's kind of like where they can shine. Like I know they obviously watch the G League, but it's not the same.
Look how happy James Harden is, smiling his heads off. James Harden is in the middle of his first interview today, and he is so happy in Nets. He is.
Oh, is he?
He's buzzing right now. I'm gonna send it to you guys. The guy asked him what shape he was in, and he just said great. And he stood there with a huge smile on his face. James Harden is about to. I think James Harden is about to just.
He's probably smoking with KD right now.
No. He, you know how people call KD like the Reaper, Grim Reaper, all that stuff. I think James Harden is about to go complete Batman mode, and he's gonna be a villain. He's gonna be a
like
villain.
How they're showing Mark Henry.
That is a demonic smile.
Mark Henry is James Harden. That's fucking hilarious.
That killed me, man.
It's a demonic smile. I just sent it to you guys.
Actually, on that note, Mark Henry, he released a T-shirt today on ProWrestlingTees.com.
Tell me James Harden is involved.
No, well, sort of. It was the Brooklyn Nets logo on the front, and then on the back it had 30 and Henry. And I was like, oh my god.
Dude, you know what? I'm excited. It's good for legacies. Let's just say these players involved, LeBron, AD, KD, Kyrie, and Harden. This year is a huge legacy year, maybe for some of those guys. Maybe not AD, but the other guys, there's huge narratives on them. Kyrie, toxic in the locker room. Kevin Durant can't win without Curry or Thompson, and James Harden needs 60 strippers a day to get through a game. So it's going to be a huge different type of situation. Yeah, you can't get caught liking an unauthorized Instagram picture of James Harden talking about thanking the strippers. Like that is just extra as fuck. Like how can you make it that obvious that you were just, at the local watering hole twice a day? Like James Harden had to keep that more secure. He's only indebted. Did you see his message today? I'm so indebted to the city of Houston. I'm so in debt for you guys. You guys believed in me. He's probably just in debt out of his pockets for a couple ones and tens for the strippers clubs.
Most likely, yeah. Like, I remember the one good thing to come out of James Harden in Houston, and we'll close with this, was somebody on Reddit. It was wild how they did this. They averaged his points in every away city, and then the average rating of the strip club. So he took
I've seen that.
he took the ratings of the strip club, and like it was almost identical with how his average points was. So like his third lowest points were in Toronto, and Toronto had the third lowest rated strip clubs out of all 30 NBA cities. And like it was, I think like one was LA, and he had the most points against away teams in LA. It was crazy. I think he went like 27 for 30 on matching it up. It was.
This is great. That is. I love that. I love Reddit sports. I love people that take time out of their day to do that shit. Because not only is he looking at scores, that guy's going on to Yelp and he's looking at the fucking stripper clubs reviews. And you know what?
I'm just James looking Harden, at the Brooklyn one.
And James Harden going to the Nets. Brooklyn lifestyle is fucking crazy. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the.
Okay, wait. I have Dalton on here. I gotta ask him a Q. Yes, a Q. A few quick questions I want to hear because we had your friend Matt on. He came in without asking his picks. Dalton, who was in the Eastern Conference Final this year? Who's in the Western Conference Final NBA?
Eastern, obviously, I'd say the Nets, and honestly, maybe the Celtics. If they play really good.
I want to say that's so hard for me to admit right now as a Raptors fan, is that the Celtics could be doing something right now.
Yeah, I never like to see the Celtics win, man.
I hate the Celtics.
Any Boston team, no. Bruins, no.
What do you have coming out of the West?
Obviously the Lakers, and hopefully the Clippers. Like that was the matchup we wanted to see last year that we never got, but yeah.
Who do you think goes to the finals?
Lakers and Brooklyn. Yeah.
And so,
I mean, I'd say the Lakers are gonna win. Like I think they're the first in the league right now. They have the best record. And like, dude, it's LeBron. Like, he just wins, man.
I got you.
So he had. Sorry, Brooklyn was ranked the 15th best strip club, and he had the 15th most points against Brooklyn. So
it's just right in there. It's time for him to go make a home out of Brooklyn, eh?
Yeah.
But let's wrap it up, Josh. This is also why I had Dalton on. Real quick, Dalton, who's going number 1 in the draft?
Jaylen Suggs. Jalen Green. That's right. Sorry.
Jalen Green, the guy from the G League. So, Dalton, as he chugs that Coca-Cola, I want to thank you so much for coming on, bro. It was a long time in the making, and it wasn't necessarily the one that we had set up with our friend Daryl, but we're going to get him on soon. We need you to come back talk with us because not only do I just want to catch up again, but I think we should do something interesting and maybe make a game or a trivia or some type of show out of this. We have a lot of things to do, but
of course.
Good for us. I get to see you in a couple of Zoom meetings this week, and the 3 of us could make a deadly group project together.
Buddy. Thanks for having me, boys.
No problem. All right, guys.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Monday or Tuesday or Sunday or one of the days. I'm sure we'll think of something.
We'll be back.
Go Leafs, go. And come on, Raptors, hang in there.